Do you? Let's talk a little bit about The Last of Us. We're a little bit behind. We got on a good streak there for a minute, and we were really kind of covering it week to week. But we've taken a little bit of a lapse, and a lot has happened since the last time we talked about The Last of Us. Episode 7, I believe, is where we left off. Dave, what do you think about number one? How much of episode 7 was from the game? I always start there.
Yeah. And I'm glad, you really make me feel like I'm a wise sage that has all the answers. And, you can come to me and I can say, well, that was not in the game.
Yeah. That's my goal.
That's what I say it like for. That. So I was in episode. I caught up on my episodes this time, and we have 7 and 8 to talk about. So I had kind of forgotten this, but the okay, so episode 7, this is the one where most of it is a flashback to Ellie. When she was before she met Joel, a little bit before she met Joel, and when she was taken by her friend that wanted to hang out with her, and shows her they go to the mall and all that. So all that is really loyal to not the game, but the DLC that came out after the first game. So
interesting.
So it wasn't in the game. So where you first see these like lesbian tendencies from Ellie, that's actually not in Last of Us game at all. It was in a DLC that came out after, and part of that too was based on this like limited comic series that came out called American Dreams. And some of that was in there too. They took some of that and put it in the DLC, which now was then that was taken into the show. So there's a lot going on. But I remember playing this, and like it's really fun because you play as Ellie the whole time, obviously, and it deals with a lot of that. So I thought it was pretty cool that they did that. The carousel, the photos. What was a little bit different was the arcade. There was an arcade in the DLC and all that, but it was not. It wasn't Mortal Kombat. It was called just like something else that wasn't real. But I was reading an article that was pretty cool. That was the creators saying that they originally wanted Mortal Kombat. They wanted it to be Mortal Kombat because when The Last of Us game first came out, they were under fire from people for it being like too violent. Like it was like too real for people, and like particularly like parents were getting mad about it. And so they wanted it to be Mortal Kombat because Mortal Kombat is back from the 90s, and they also were getting hit with the same things back in the 90s where like everyone was saying that it was like too graphic and they were kind of up in arms about it. So they thought it was pretty awesome that like they were able to make it actually Mortal Kombat for this episode.
Yeah, and I want to say something a little controversial here now that a lot of people might not agree with me on, but I feel like I need to say it. I would love to live in an abandoned mall. I just think it's so rad.
Whoa!
No, I know. On. Listen, I was expecting some backlash on this, but I want to be clear. I don't mean any mall. I mean a mall that's really lost to time. And you see it every once in a while on YouTube. There's urban explorers and people that go into abandoned buildings and abandoned malls specifically all the time. I want to live in like a mall that closed in 97, that still has a Sam Goody. They still have a Suncoast. And what I want to do is I want to retrofit all of the different stores as different rooms. So when I have people come over, they can stay. It's like, oh, do you want to stay? Do you want to stay in Gymboree? That one maybe is a little bit weird. We'll do a second. we'll do a second
Gymboree.
Yeah, we'll do.
You can't go to Gymboree because that's going to have all the little kids that are going to judge you and say really mean things to you, and you're going to feel old.
That's where you're going to get the fat blast from a 4-year-old. So never mind on Gymboree.
We have Chance and Penner in the chat. It's blowing my mind because I thought we were Chance and Penner, but says Eli is a Sears boy.
Well, I have a hunch that was producer Vince. I wouldn't classify myself as a busted. You're busted.
I saw those khakis you're wearing, dude. You're a Sears boy.
No, those are from Kohl's. Sears doesn't exist where I live at all. There's remnants of them, and you still see them, but no, I'm not a Sears boy. I would occasionally enjoy a good Sears run.
Remnants of Sears though for future generations.
I 100% agree.
That can just represent us too.
we should do it as like a museum. Like somebody should buy a mall and just have it be like put the stores behind glass, charge people to go in. But I really want to buy an abandoned mall, and I want to just completely redo the whole thing, and then you offer it as an Airbnb. Can you imagine? Like,
Ooh.
Oh, dude.
Dude,
Do you
that's a
make
good
it
idea.
post-apocalyptic, or
No.
do you just make it just a literal mall?
no, you make it like almost like you're putting a VR headset on.
It should be a
Like,
time machine, dude.
I love like a Stranger Things.
The
type
mall is a
thing where
time
it's-
machine itself?
Like you go into it and
That'd
it's
be
the
wild,
90s, dude.
I
Oh, I
definitely think
gotcha.
it.
Okay,
I
yeah,
definitely
yeah.
think it can transport
Not
you.
an actual
you know?
time machine.
There's certain things that just don't exist
Not
anymore
literally.
that I would love to see it.
Dave, so whoa, you can do that?
No, but seriously, the mall would be a literal time machine. No, that's a sweet idea, though. Yeah, I mean, it's like, and that's what I think is cool about this show is that, we've seen a lot with like post-apocalyptic or dystopian societies like this kind of thing, but it is cool. Like they even talk about like the looting a little bit when they're like, "What happened to this shop? Everybody thought they needed this thing."
Yeah.
My question is, where's Moss Guy in all this? Because there wasn't a lot of Moss, and we all know that Moss Guy is the best asset that this series has. Maybe
Dude,
he'll come back in the next one.
I feel like they have to pull Moss Guy from his smoke breaks every single time. And just the nature of Moss Guy, you know, he's out there booting like non-filtered cigarettes just over and over and over the wall.
He knows how much they need him.
Yeah.
Oh, paging Moss Guy, please.
And he's
come
always, for some reason, his walkie-talkie earpiece is always out. So it's like a PA has to be like, "Hey, we need you again back on set." And he's like,
back.
"Fine."
I'm really, really sorry, Moss Guy. I apologize. Finish up your cigarette, but I think we could really use you back there.
Well, and good luck now that it's a hit show. Good luck getting Moss Guy to do anything because he's like, "Yeah, I've proven my work."
So you know how many Moss Guys are out there? 2, and I'm
So-
one of them.
Moss Guys is a dying art form. All right.
Moss Guys don't grow on trees, all right? Moss does, but not Moss Guys. Okay.
My father was a Moss Guy. My
My
grandfather
father
was a
worked
Moss
on
Guy.
Moss Isley. That's how
Does that?
it's
Wait,
not
like
literal, but he took the name.
He did the set dressing for Moss. No. He's from Moss Isley. It's like, okay,
No,
all right, Moss
he's-
Guy. You took LSD again before work, didn't you? Just putting moss around. Yeah. I thought it was going back to the relevant topic we were talking about. I thought it was a good episode. It was a little bit like some of these episodes are so long and they don't, it was a little bit, it reminded me of episode 3 a lot where it kind of deviated, but I thought, it informed, right? It informed the overall story that we were watching in a way that paid off. They gave you more about who Ellie was in a way that I didn't feel like episode 3 did. I feel like episode 3 was an hour and a half episode that, the end you get a car and some ammunition out of it. Not to say those things aren't vital, especially in a post-apocalyptic setting, but I'm a straight up story boy, so I like to see the continuation.
I would value horror masks, like personally above ammunition and those
that's
kind of
true.
things personally, but that's probably why I wouldn't survive. But
Well, I can relate with that's what I loved about this episode. I'm obviously joking about buying them all because I don't have the money to buy one, but I love the it really does it captures your imagination of what that would be like, and I think that's why you always in a lot of stuff that is post-apocalyptic, you do see an abandoned mall because everybody would love to have
Maybe,
that experience.
maybe we can get a GoFundMe going to let Eli buy a mall.
I'd love that.
Maybe that's
I already have the mall picked out. There's 2 by me that are not going to be around in the next 2 years, and I'd love to jump on that while it's hot.
yeah. I like
But
that.
yeah, I
Well, let's-
enjoyed this episode.
Should we talk about Vince says same in all caps? Should we talk about I guess Nevada and Peachtree are not as opinionated about this topic, but that's okay.
Look, if it's not about Ghostface, they just don't want to talk about it.
Sorry we didn't go on for another hour about the Scream franchise. Okay, let's talk about episode 8.
Yes.
Yeah, and since I represent the game, I just want to say the game. It reminded me of playing the game this part because it's pretty crazy because you play as Joel the whole movie, or not movie, game, and you have certain things at your disposal. You have to use stealth, you have to use your power, you have to use aim, you have to construct detonators and grenades and stuff from scrap that you find and be really smart as you play it. I got angry a lot of times because I had a lot of clickers rip my throat out. But this is the first time in the game where you actually play as Ellie, and it forces you to play with Ellie, and it's kind of like you're shocked at first because you're like, and she plays completely differently. Not as much physical strength, not as much, skill as Joel does, and it kind of made me, remember that, and yeah, she's kind of untrained, and it makes everything more scary. But aside from that, I mean, or yeah, including that, there were not very many. This was another episode where they're really true to the game. The only real difference was that this was more. There was more backstory of the David Pastor character in this one. They made him like formerly he was a teacher and all that. And then at the very end, in the game, Joel comes in and witnesses Ellie like murdering him, like decimating him at the end, and then they kind of have to deal with that in the game. In the show, they decided not to do that. Joel does not see her do that, so maybe they're kind of trying to go with more of an angle where like she needs to work with that. Maybe she's going to keep it to herself, not share that with Joe, and go with that as more of a psychological thing. Peachtree says that guy was creepy.
He was.
I chose to put that inflection on it. That wasn't her.
Dude, first the Botox stuff, now this, and we're gonna lose all of our female audience. I love this episode. This might be my favorite episode of the season so far. It just had so many, so many things to inform the story, but the character work was just awesome, and really culminated in such a much more deeper, rich connection with Joel and Ellie. Again, as somebody that didn't play the game, that's something that they kind of had to work a little bit more to get into, but now they're just off and running. And it's the crazy thing about this show is because, before we got into this, I had expressed that I was kind of over the whole zombie genre, and I felt like it was more of the same. There's not that many zombies in this show. It's not. They've
only been in like 3 of the episodes.
Yeah, it's not about the zombies. It's so much about Joel and Ellie in these different scenarios, and I loved it. I love that moment. One of my favorite things from this episode was the moment that she gets the penicillin and she's sitting there trying to figure out, not having any knowledge on how any of this works. She's trying to figure out what to put it, and she just goes, screw it, and does it. And I remember sitting there watching that, going, like, putting myself in that position of what would the next 5 minutes after you did that be like? It'd be you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, a little bit, because you're trying to help this person that needs this stuff, but you don't know what you're doing. And it just, I don't know, the episode was so effective in making you feel. It sounded like way depressive, like I haven't felt, and then I watch this episode and now I feel, but it
made me feel things.
It transports you to this world and in this scenario in a way that I imagine the game does. And I keep hearing week to week that we talk about this from both you and Vince, like how much it is close to the game. And it's kind of amazing that they're able to do that when how many video game movies or video game TV shows have come out and failed and people hate them, and there's all this backlash, and this one just seems to break the mold and by copying the mold essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I think gaming in general, games get so much more respect now from as they're around and they're getting better and better and better. You're also having people are also aging more, people that have actually grown up playing these games instead of getting these like filmmakers that like have never gamed before in their lives and are like, oh well, those are games, like we do films and we make them better, and I'm going to reinvent this because I'm better. Well, then you fail. It's like, well, sometimes things need to be reworked, but also sometimes there's a reason that something is a masterpiece and you leave it alone, dude, and you do it, and it's like, don't overthink it.
Yeah, so we're on episode 8. I think it's a 10-episode season. Are they leaving a lot of stuff out from that first game to make?
It's actually 9. So actually, the next, I believe the next one is going to be the finale. That's on Sunday.
Yeah, I was about to say that, Dave. I think this next one is the last one for the season, which leaves us halfway through the game, Dave?
That's what I was wondering. Do you remember, Vince? Because I also was wondering. I also was seeing stuff that said that maybe, I think people are still debating it. I don't think people know, because there are other people saying, well, maybe they could, because other people are saying maybe they do feel like they've kind of hit all the major like emotional beats, and they might be able to do the rest. No
But-
spoilers. Vince and I know how it ends.
I feel like there's so much that
there's a lot of
could have
shit that
done.
goes down.
Which I'm gonna go based off of like not like the emotional stuff for sure. They've already like Eli hasn't played the game, but he's already emotionally captured and love. And
You got
we'll someday
captured.
play it. He's been captured.
He's emotional.
But like visually, a lot of the stuff in the game, I guess, would probably be pretty hard to do in a TV show. There's a zoo part, Dave, that I've been waiting for this series.
Yeah, me too.
Which that could potentially be the end, like the last episode could have that in it, and it would be fantastic. But I'm hoping that they're splitting the story in half for the TV series.
Yeah, I don't know if we know the runtime of the last episode, because I was thinking maybe if it's like an hour and a half they could do it, but I'm also kind of hoping that too, because I'm wondering like, okay, what is their full, it does make sense to kind of split the game up into like 2 seasons, because also like I'm like, how do you in 1 year go from the entire first game to the entire second game?
Which I'm not ready for the second game to be the second season, so I'm hoping. that it's split in half.
Completely, and yeah.
Although
I won't say anything else about it because of spoilers, but
I just feel like there's so much, and they could just for HBO's sake, they could hold off and continue this, because it's not like people are going to lose interest,
Look. That's great. You guys know a lot about the game. That's awesome. My question is, how much moss will be dispensed in episode 9? Because that's how do you pay it off,
dude? That's what I'm saying. There's a lot more moss in store if they delay it.
That's where Moss Guy's been this whole time. He's been working on the sets that are coming up for the next one. That's where that he was really needed. So,
dude, Dave, I was going to tell you this: the Moss Guy shows up in Mandalorian episode 1. There's a character that's straight up Moss Guy. That has just, you can tell Moss Guy was like, they gave Moss Guy free reign to do what he wanted, and he's like, I got.
So I'll write him into the script. You're now a character called Moss Guy.
Kathleen Kennedy was like, there's no rules, there's no canon, just do you, Moss Guy. And he was like, all right, thanks.
You, Moss Guy.
Thanks, Kath.
We're not going to tell you anything. You just do whatever you want.
No,
so I'm going to make an entire guy out of Moss.
That's literally a character that's on that episode. But we won't get into Mandalorian. We'll keep it to Last of Us.
That's next week.
Another fun fact. So the guy that's James in this that works with that's one of the sort of like minions of David is James, and he's played by Troy Baker, which is the dude that did the voice of Joel in the game.
Oh, nice.
So that's kind of awesome that he got a little cameo. Not the coolest, I guess, but he got to be tortured, so that's cool.
Nice. Well, I always love tortured guys, especially the ones that did the original voice of the video game character. So that's cool that they're loyal. They're loyal to their people. That's cool.
Peachtree says, "Oh, sorry. Good.
No, I was just gonna say in the Uncharted movie, there's a scene with I forgot the guy's name, Nathan Drake or something like that. Maybe that's the name of the character. But the guy that did the voice in the video game, there's a scene and it's so obvious that it's a cameo. This one was great because he was just like in the
I didn't at all realize it. And he has a pretty distinct voice too, and I didn't know it all. But yeah, Peachtree says there's absolutely no way they can't do a part 2 to the first game. Yeah, I think so. We'll see. I don't know what their plan is. And I was just gonna say it was pretty awesome. It was pretty awesome at the end. You had once the building started burning, I was like, my memory came back, and I was like, oh yes. And it's weird. The ending of episode 8 kind of reminded me of this little known short film called Glass Darkly, in which kind of a similar thing was going down. There's a little bit of a perhaps rapiness going on. And then the tables get turned, and the female heroine goes out with a dagger and stabs him a bunch of times, and it just reminded me of that film.
Yeah, not as much, not as good, of course, but I guess they attempted, and that's all you can really expect from people. But
Glass Darkly, film that we worked on.
Go look at it, go watch it.
I'm our self-promoting segue,
which we don't do enough of on here, if we're being honest. So episode 9, is that this Sunday? So that's the finale.
Yeah, that's the finale. I guess there's going to be 9 episodes. So yeah, I kind of am am like, oh wow, we watched 8 episodes. It doesn't seem like that, but yeah, I'm
It really doesn't.
excited. It definitely has. I had my doubts about the series a little bit and before I watched it, but I'm liking it a lot.
Yeah, well, definitely next week have to talk about that, and and after having the whole first season completed, we can maybe revisit some of the other episodes and stuff. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm really tempted to try and play the game in the interim between season 1 and season 2. I want to be like you guys. I want to know where to expect the Moss guy. I want to know where to be able, so I don't have to come on here and look like an idiot and go, hey Dave, is this part of the game or is it just a TV show?
So is this a good? I'm like, oh no, that wasn't in the game.
Okay, I'll go back to my corner. Yeah, but
You want to be cool? I get it.